Hello everyone, welcome to our tutorial. Today we'll talk about developing embodied interactive virtual characters for human subject studies. Before we get started, please check our tutorial page. The tutorial page is surreal.ucf.edu. Then you'll find a link to IEEEVR2020 tutorial on the top right menu. Also, please download and install Unity if you don't have it already. We'll use the version 2019.2.13. To briefly introduce the tutorial organizers, I'm Kang-Soo Kim. I'm a postdoc researcher at Synthetic Reality Lab in the University of Central Florida. With me here, my co-organizers Nahar Noruji and Austin Erickson, who are PhD students in our lab. Our tutorial will start with a brief introduction to virtual human research with prior research, examples, and findings. Then we'll move on to the development session, which will cover how to develop an interactive virtual character using Unity game engine. We have divided the development session into three separate parts. First, we'll explain how to import a virtual model and add speech and facial expression features. Then we'll have a break. After the break, we will continue to develop the virtual human with gestures and locomotion, and we'll also show how to control the character through network communication. Finally, we'll show how we can add a physical sensing component to make the virtual world more connected to the physical world before we end this tutorial. So let's dive into the virtual human research. We humans are social animals, and we're influencing each other through social activities. Interestingly, we tend to treat technologies such as computers or TVs as another social entity. We are familiar with this concept based on our experience through a bunch of different sci-fi films or novels. Nowadays, these social technologies are becoming part of our lives. For example, robots, digital assistants, and embodied virtual characters. In our tutorial, we'll focus on the embodied virtual characters, particularly virtual humans. Virtual humans have been used in various applications like simulation and training, education, or entertainment, and so on and so forth. Here we'll briefly give you some examples in the following slides. In simulation and training, there are different scenarios that virtual humans can be utilized. For example, training for job interviews, development of skills such as teaching, communication, and neurological assessment in medical context. For education and coaching applications, virtual humans have been used for anatomy education, increase of healthy literacy, and motivation for children. Entertainment and media is another big area that uses virtual humans. For example, virtual actors and performers and news anchors. And even recently, it's been used for bringing a person who died back to virtual life. Given these various applications, virtual human research has been actively explored. Virtual human research is very interdisciplinary, with areas focusing on both technical aspects of virtual human development and understanding of human interactions with these entities. Virtual humans' influence towards the users has been extensively researched for decades from different research fields such as social psychology or linguistics. To better understand the influence of the virtual humans, researchers have manipulated different aspects of virtual humans, such as verbal and nonverbal behaviors, personality, or emotions. And they use the different techniques to measure the impacts on the human users. For example, measuring their qualitative perception using surveys, or objective behaviors and physiological signals. Here we'd like to present some of the experiments incorporating embodied virtual humans. Here are a few of the research areas that we'll present today. Social facilitation and inhibition means that people perform simple tasks better when they're observed by others, while they perform difficult tasks worse. Interestingly, both in virtual reality and augmented reality environments, virtual humans can induce the same effects to the human users. Virtual humans' emotions can impact the users themselves and their perception of the virtual human. For example, virtual humans exhibiting negative emotions have stronger effects on the users than the positive emotions. And when this emotional behavior is appropriate in the context, the users perceive the virtual human is more believable. Virtual humans can also affect how human users make decisions through their emotional behaviors. For example, interactions with angry agents can result in the users yielding more to the agent's decisions. Influence of virtual humans has been researched in public speaking scenarios. Virtual human audiences' interactive behavior could increase the user's engagement, but the adoption of these approaches can be different with different genders. Due to the sense of anonymity, people become more open to talk to virtual humans than real humans. Researchers also found that virtual humans' social and emotional behavior can prime human users' perception of the virtual human, and their emotion can be contagious. In the field of healthcare, standardized actors and mannequins have been widely used, but these choices have many limitations which virtual humans can cover. For example, compared to static mannequins, use of virtual human patients could enhance dynamic interactions in the healthcare scenarios, so the user's engagement and sense of presence doing neurological assessment were increased. With advances in augmented reality and mixed reality, these virtual humans are becoming more and more present in our physical environment, so people would expect more seamless and dynamic physical virtual interactions in the real and virtual world. One of the research aspects that we are interested in is this physical virtual interactivity in real virtual human interaction scenarios. So we'll present some of our lab's work, for example, how the virtual humans context-aware behavior, haptic interactivity, and ability to control physical objects can change the user's perception and behaviors. First, we found the virtual human's context-aware behavior can increase the sense of social presence. In one of our study settings, the virtual human encountered an issue with the physical obstacle on her way. So she proactively asked the users to move it away for her. This awareness of the physical environment improved the user's sense of the virtual human's intelligence and their sense of being together with the virtual humans. In another setting, we developed a physical sensing module which could detect the real wind in the environment so that the real wind could actually influence the virtual world by moving virtual things next to the virtual human. And the virtual humans exhibiting awareness of the real wind and the virtual changes could result in the increase of social presence as well. Secondly, we looked into the effects of haptic feedback in real virtual human interactions. In one study setting, we developed a half physical, half virtual table where wobbling on one side of the table can affect the other side. Real human users were sitting across the virtual human so that they could feel the wobbly table movement caused by the virtual human and vice versa. This experience resulted in the increase of social presence and attention towards the virtual human. And we also found vibrotactile feedback could improve the sense of social presence with the virtual human, both in virtual reality and augmented reality. In these settings, the users could feel the virtual human's footsteps through the vibrotactile feedback on the floor. And with this feedback, they tended to avoid the virtual human while feeling the illusion of virtual human's physicality. We also developed multiple virtual human prototypes that could physically control the real objects in the surrounding environment. For example, we used the IoT embedded floor lamp so that the virtual human could walk towards the lamp and perform realistic human gestures to turn the lamp on and off. The virtual human's visual embodiment and the locomotion behavior could improve the user's sense of social presence and the trustworthiness of the virtual human. In one of the settings, the virtual human could move a physical token on the table using magnets moving under the table. That improved the user's sense of social presence and the interaction experience. The effects of virtual characters are not only limited to the virtual humans. There are many research findings that non-human virtual characters, such as virtual dogs, could influence users' motivation, social presence, or other perceptual and behavioral responses. In conclusion, we would like to emphasize the importance and potential of virtual human or virtual character research. We are facing a new industrial revolution, which is characterized by a fusion of technologies that is blurring the lines between physical, digital, and biological spheres. We'll be living in a life with highly intelligent virtual entities. Those virtual entities will be visually realistic, so we might not be able to distinguish them from the real humans. In this era, the convergence of different technologies like augmented reality, intelligent virtual agents, and Internet of Things should be timely, interesting, and important, particularly about human perception and behavioral research in the interactions with physically interactive virtual humans. Our recent survey also supported the increase of such convergence research in the field. So our tutorial today that presents how to develop interactive virtual characters would be a good starting point to jump into the virtual human research. This is the end of our introductory presentation. And now we will move on to the development session in a few minutes.